floodwaters have moved on now, but in their wake, they affected thousands of people in southwestern Pennsylvania and West Virginia. But as you heard many of them say, they've been down this road before with major floods in the past. So what made this one so different? Well, for one thing, it was a whole new generation actually experiencing a flood. After all, they'd only heard their parents and grandparents talk about the big one. It was rare they even saw pictures or video of the flood back around Easter time of 1936. Ask anyone in western Pennsylvania old enough to remember. They'll tell you stories about how downtown Pittsburgh streets turned into canals, and it was water up to the ceiling for most people living or working along Main Street in all of the small towns up and down the three rivers. You'll also hear recollections about the other one in '72. Agnes, they called it, when a hurricane left its remnants on this region. You don't see many shots of Agnes either, except this home video shot just a few blocks from here and sent to us by a KDKA viewer. And technology is another reason why the flood of '96 was so different. People saw the disaster as it happened, and they won't soon forget the pictures beamed live into their homes. And if there's one final image that people will remember from the flood of '96, it's that huge Wind Symphony barge. The last we showed you, it was teetering on the edge of the Allegheny Wharf, just a few hundred yards up the river.
It looks unreal. You don't realize how much damage that water can do. Oh, my.
Right after the floodwaters receded, there it was, the point counterpoint, tilted on the edge of the Allegheny Wharf.
You know there's a flood, but until you see it, you don't believe it.
Disbelief was the common reaction as people came to get a better look at the barge and the cars and trucks smashed underneath. The cars that were not trapped or swept away were a couple hundred yards down the wharf under giant slabs of ice.
A friend of ours' car is down here, first time he drove it to work, and it's buried under all this ice and snow.
The cars, they're expendable, just as long as nobody got killed or nobody got hurt in it.
The Sunday after the flood turned out to be a sunny and bright day. A great day for spectators and a busy day for Pittsburgh police who were trying to keep traffic moving on Fort Duquesne Boulevard. By Monday morning, the business crowd added to the crush of barge watchers lining up along the railing. Some came to preserve a few memories.
And I went coming by here, and I said, wow, I got to get a camera. And we got a portable one. Oh, look at that.
Some wanted a keepsake for their children.
My kids, they never seen anything like this, and I figured it'd be something for them to see. Some pictures to take to say that they survived the flood of '96.
And then there were those with a personal stake, like the Point Counterpoint's owner.
And it may be that we'll have to bring in a crane for each end and just nestle her in. She's been to Ireland, she's been to Dublin, she's been all over the world.
And now here she was, the world traveler stuck on the Allegheny Wharf in Pittsburgh. 1,600 tons and worth millions. And so it went. For days, workers finally cleared the wharf, and city leaders approved a plan they'd considered in the past to keep cars off for good and turn the Allegheny Wharf into a park. As for the Wind Symphony barge, her salvation arrived a week later. Experts had spent the time figuring out what might work and what might not.
Exactly. It might drag it in with the current, it might just drag it down. Robert.
And as the crews worked to get everything in place and lined up just right, this final crowd gathered to watch what would be the last rescue of the flood of '96.